We want to talk about back to school. We showed you a bit of that press conference before we got to the White House briefing. CMS talking about how they are preparing for the first day of school, which is Monday. So kids, this is your last week. Enjoy the rest of this week and this weekend, because you're going back to school on Monday.
Like it or not, ready or not.
Ready or not, you're going back to school on Monday. We have Myles Harris here, who was at that press conference. Myles, superintendent, other district leaders were there. Give me a takeaway from that press conference.
Yeah, I mean, obviously a lot of changes really going into the school district this year, but I'm going to go ahead and break down what some of the big ones are, especially what parents and families can do even before that first day on Monday. I know it sounds weird even saying that, like, these school buses are about to start filling up these streets here pretty soon.
Right.
Really, really soon here. But one of the biggest takeaways that we got from this was, number one, is that they actually will have a new parent portal for families, and it's called the Infinite Campus app. So that was replacing what was the Power School app. That gives families access to looking at grades, assignments, scheduling. But what is new with this one, and what's actually cool about this app, is that you can actually fill out all the paperwork that you need to do before that first day through this app. And so they're actually encouraging, the school district is encouraging families to get onto this app, get familiar with it, do all that, but even before you go to open house, so that really the school year can get off to a swimmingly smooth start for the kids, for the teachers, for the district, everybody. So that's a really, really big change and adjustment that they're still working through a little bit. Obviously, anytime there's a new app, might be a little kinks, things like that. But for the most part, this overall will have a lot of benefits for families, for students, for the district. But that's not the only app that they were talking about as well. They have another app called Parent Square that they were talking about as well. That helps the communication when it comes to families and parents, as well as the school district as a whole. That's how that's an open line of communication. And then they also unveiled or rolled out another app called School Safety, or I Love You Guys, which is when there's emergencies, when there's lockdowns, when there are things like that. This app is supposed to also open another line of communication, letting families and parents and also students aware of really what's going on. So that was some of the biggest ones when it comes to those apps. When it comes to, obviously, there's a question that always goes on, whether it's CMS or other districts, what are the teacher vacancies look like, right? There's a lot of those, and they still have over, I want to say, 200 teacher vacancies, but their fill position rate was over 97%, which is very, very good. I mean, it really, really is, and very impressive, especially if we look at even the years removed from COVID, just how much of an impact that was. So still seeing a lot of improvements there, but obviously there's still more work to be done. They have talked about some of the things that they had done in the summertime to obviously help beef up that number, and they're still working with that, whether that's career fairs, whether that's other programs, just trying to obviously fill as many of those classrooms with teachers as they can. But I mean, that's a handful of some of the stuff that they talked about, but I mean, a lot of things are coming when it comes to the school year, Nick.
Did they at all address anything that may have happened at the end of last year? I know there were some principal resignations or anything regarding that.
Not a whole lot of deep dive into the past year. I was
about to say, I asked that because it was sort of plagued the last part of or the end of last school year.
Yeah, and and again, they talked a little bit more specifically on really how they were dealing with whether it was teacher vacancies or even bus driver vacancies, how they're trying to make sure that they closed off as many as those routes are concerned. We also asked about how they plan to address ICE, if there's any of those operations going on in and around those campuses as well. And we'll have that in our story later on this evening, just because I think that's a question that a lot of parents and families want to know. Hey, because we're seeing whether they're at schools or whether they're at churches, whether they're at events, like there's always those talks about those as well. So getting a chance to ask the district about that one as well was also an interesting put as well. But I think the biggest takeaway and the biggest adjustment was that line of communication that they're trying to adjust and change, whether that's in case of emergencies or whether it's just having access for those grades, assignments, scheduling. This Infinite Campus app is supposed to be a big difference maker when it comes to the district, but also for these families as well.
I hear you say that, and it's so. I think back to obviously we're all right around the same age. Like when we were in say elementary, middle school, high school, we didn't have like the online platform. I don't remember that.
You always had to wait till like the week of the quarter was ending to give your parents the grade, good or bad. Mine was good for the most part.
So
just to say that, my mom made sure I was getting good grades. I want to say that. But seriously though, it's so interesting to see that even like the usage of cell phones when they can and cannot be used. That was never a thing when we were in middle school or high school now too. But when you consider these emergencies and when you consider these apps and these accessibility, they have to have some level of that for kids even though too. And so to hear these districts address these things and these adjustments like you're talking about, Nick, it's interesting. And whether you have a kid or not, you're really intrigued on kind of how these districts really plan to tackle those issues as well.
I didn't get my first cell phone until like my sophomore year in high school. And it was a flip phone at that. So we were not really, I mean, we were texting a little bit, but it really wasn't.
T9 texting. Does anybody remember what that was?
It wasn't really what it is now. And then you have all the social media platforms right there in the palm of your hand. So it's so different. It blows my mind that how different it is now.
Yeah, and again, it's a growing need though too. And I know that, for example, even Bree had done a story this morning in regards to how AI is going to be implemented. That was also a topic of conversation with this though too. And so I feel like this is the second time that I've covered this. I covered the briefing last year. This one had a lot more elements, I would say, as far as adjustments or changes. And it's even crazy because whether they were talking about AI or the teacher vacancies, they're like, these numbers are going to fluctuate. And like going back to what you were asking about with the principals and stuff, we might talk about this number now. It could change in 2 weeks. For the better or for the worse. And so them having a plan or talking about that plan and just kind of seeing how they're trying to adjust with any of these changes was an interesting takeaway as well. But they're trying to address the moving parts as the best as they can, though, honestly, I'd say.
Myles, before I get you out of here, when can folks check out your story on TV?
4 and 5 o'clock tonight.
4 and 5 o'clock. And obviously, you can catch the story on our digital platforms after it airs. Myles Harris, it's been a while since we've seen each other.
Appreciate you, twin. Come on,
man. Twin. Hey, man. Thank you for stopping by the studio. I haven't seen Myles in the newsroom in a while. He's been a busy guy, so I understand. So, look, I understand Myles.
Doing his job.
I'm doing my job.
He's doing his job.
That's
what I'm saying. He's doing his job.
Thank you, Carly. I appreciate it. No, but thank you guys. Yeah, seriously, I appreciate it. Yeah. So.
Myles Harris, thank you again. 4 or 5, you can catch the story. Interesting stuff there.